Hello everybody, welcome to the MaffmanJones movie show. I'm your host John MaffmanJones. Today's featured film is Ready Player One. It's a sci-fi family adventure film directed by Steven Spielberg, the man who inspired me to like movies, to go for the movie career, and doing this right now. The story is about Ty Sheridan's character, Wade Watts. By the way, Watts, Back to the Future is all over the place in this movie, visually and musically. But moving forward, Wade Watts, he's obsessed with the Oasis. It's this virtual reality world where you can do anything and everything in the future, in the 2040s. The man who created this game, James Halliday, passes away, but he left behind the clues for 3 keys somewhere in this world. And if you're able to find these 3 keys, you inherit the fortune and the company that he left behind. It's kind of like Willy Wonka. Wade and his friends go on this Easter egg hunt to find these keys before anybody who could possibly find these keys and use them for the wrong purpose finds them first. That happens to be Ben Mendelsohn, who is now becoming typecast as a villain, but he does a damn good job being a villain every single time, including this time. I can't lie, I was a little apprehensive about Ready Player One because of the marketing. Not because of Steven Spielberg, because it's Steven Spielberg. If you were doubting him as a filmmaker, what the fuck? Oh, I mean, I guess that's a valid excuse. Fine. The marketing seems to just be pushing the pop culture aspect of this movie. And don't get me wrong, there is an influx of pop culture references in this movie, some that play more into the story than others, but a majority of them are just there in the background, and if you happen to see something you recognize, kudos to you, you get a cookie. But it's not going to affect the storytelling because Steven Spielberg tells a really adventurous, entertaining story about this kid trying to accomplish a goal with his friends. It's also riddled in cliches and predictable story beats, but it doesn't take away from the journey that you're going on. I got a little welled up at the very end of this movie because Spielberg does the Spielberg thing where the music swells up and something's happening and you're like, oh, there it is. The CGI is abundant, but it works for the story because of the Oasis, this virtual world. The CG looks, in some moments, very impressive. There are parts of the movie where the avatars that these actors are playing as in this virtual world, these avatars in some moments are juxtaposed with real people, but the lighting, the framing, everything is so seamless that you don't even see it. You don't even see it. The third act of this movie is where the most pop culture references visually come out. But again, it doesn't take away from the story. There is a goal trying to be achieved in this third act, and the focus is there, but there's plenty of stuff going on in the background. This movie is going to be one of the biggest screen grab movies of all time. When it comes out on Blu-ray, there's going to be lists on the internet of every individual character or thing from any video game or any movie or any music group or whatever that was in this movie. Because there were hundreds, if not thousands. I also saw similarities to Minority Report, but only really visually in the color grading and the way the visual style of the future is represented. I didn't read the book, but I'm having a hard time configuring in my mind another director who could have directed this movie and made it work as well as Steven Spielberg did. Because this movie could have very well easily failed hard. But Steven Spielberg, for all the flack that this movie is getting for being the pop culture movie, he tells a wonderful story that happens to have sugar-coated candy all over the place for fun. And he has fun with that, but he doesn't take away from the focus of the narrative. And that's what's important, and he does that really well. The story material from this movie is benefited greatly from Steven Spielberg doing his Steven Spielberg thing with the Spielberg shot. If you ever heard of it before, it's the shot that is in a lot of his movies where you see young characters or even older characters' faces reacting to something. If I had to have any criticisms, I would say that the movie feels predictable. It has story beats that you recognize if you've seen movies before. It's very simple storytelling in a way, like guy likes girl, characters trying to do one thing. But most stories start like that. They're very simple. It's just a complaint that I could see happening. Visually, the movie can be disorienting, especially in the very beginning and the very end. But if your eyes need adjusting in the beginning of the movie, it won't take long. Also, the movie is a little on the nose. I can forgive it for being on the nose when they're in the Oasis because certain video game characters are explaining things but it's as it would be when you're playing an old school video game, because this movie does very well showcase video games from its beginnings, very humble beginnings, to where it's been like recent years and where it's probably going to go in the next 10, 20, 30 years. But sometimes there are characters that are just kind of spewing expository dialogue, and it can get annoying, but I was able to forgive it for the most part. But there are other aspects too where the movie is on the nose when it comes to nostalgia and when it comes to resolution of characters. The musical soundtrack, for example, not Alan Silvestri's score, because the Alan Silvestri score is incredible, and he utilizes Back to the Future musical cues so many times as he possibly can, and it works for the movie. Even visually, there are some things in there that you may recognize in the background from Back to the Future, all over the place. But I'm digressing. The soundtrack. The moment you hear the first song in the movie, you know exactly what you're about to be in for. And that could be a good or bad thing for you. But overall, Ready Player One does its job very well. Steven Spielberg told a wonderfully awe-inspiring video game type story. This is one of the best video game movies ever. Has to be. Scott Pilgrim is up there too. But like, as far as telling the story of video games is concerned, representing video games as a whole, this movie does a damn good job. Steven Spielberg kills it. He brings back that childlike wonder. The characters are fun. The story is engaging. The action sequences are a blast. And all the pop culture video game movie references are just the cherry on top. I had such a good time with this movie. It's not one of Spielberg's best, but it's Steven Spielberg, so even one of Spielberg's lesser movies is a really good movie. Come on. I'm going to give Ready Player One a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's a darn good Applebee's meal. Now I want to know from all you boys and girls, when you see Ready Player One this weekend or moving forward, whenever you're watching this review, let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. Is there any video game that is close to your heart and always will be from when you were younger or even older? I think mine will always be Halo. Halo, Combat Evolved, and Halo 2 are those games for me. I'll always go back to those first when it comes to when I had my gaming awakening, if you will. If you enjoyed this review, please like, subscribe, ring that bell, ring my bell. Check out my social medias, my Stardust, where I did some more Ready Player One reactions, and that's it. I'm John Maffio, aka MaffmanJones, and I'll see you guys on the flip side. Peace.